I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I do improv comedy, I dabble in stand-up, but I try to stick to improv. Man, improv has changed me, for better or for worse. It definitely really changed how I approach new ideas, and my willingness to approach from like different angles rather than just from my like typical perspective that I like used to have when I would be writing. One of the things about improv that really changed kind of my perspective in my process is the open jams, and having played with so many different people from different ranges of experience and understanding, and even having played in Spanish, where I speak Spanish, but it's not my first language, it's not my strongest language for sure. And I can understand pretty well, but you know, communicating back can be difficult. But when doing improv, there's like something about having to let go of that pressure of speaking it well and just focusing on that way to communicate other than speaking. And I think that sort of has really changed how I attack my writing processes, or when I'm acting, how I enter the stage, or when I'm doing improv with someone completely different, how I interpret the words that we get, and how I interpret movements, just so that I can try to match or try to follow. Yeah.
You mentioned open jams. Can you tell us what an open jam is?
An open jam is when people of any experience level, brand new improvisers, experienced improvisers, people from all walks of improv can meet and play. It's a great chance to kind of flex your muscles, learn from other people, learn from yourself, make choices that you wouldn't typically make on stage in front of a more casual audience. Oh man, with a level of stress. I definitely, when I am creating something, there is a little bit more focus from my end. And it's not necessarily focus and like paying attention or following, but it's making sure that what I'm doing is exactly what I want. It is very, for example, with Edgewood Avenue, when I've approached that, it wasn't just I want to do an improvised puppet show, it was I want to do things with puppets. It was there's a specific structure, I want to do an improvised show. It's not just going up there and doing long form or just going up there and doing short form. It's the world around building those things and the blocks around that. While when I'm working with somebody else, I'm much more willing to just go with the flow, accept things as they are approached to me, because I want to see their vision come through the way that I would want my vision to come through. So I try to make sure that as much as I want to suggest and I want to be hands-on. Somebody said this to me when I was working on a little short, or about sometime last year. They said, you may not understand it, but they know what they're doing. And I think that was like a moment in my brain where I was like, oh yeah, I may have a completely different view of like what a puppet show would look like, as opposed to when I'm working with Shay and we put a puppet in her show, might look completely different. And that's because she knows what she wants for her show in the same way that I know what I want for mine. And I try to approach that with that in mind. When I'm doing a skit, I'm more focused on the joke, on the bit, and what that bit means and how that can be explored. While when I do a show with multiple segments, I focus more on almost the vagueness of it. For example, our last puppet show we did like a theme with the word open, and that meant a lot of different things for us. That meant how we opened the show, it meant how we approached the skit within the show, it affected how our stand-up comedian wrote their bits around that. So every bit or every segment, I want to have like almost a through line, where it doesn't have to be as focused on exploring a specific bit or joke as it would be on a smaller scale, but it still has those elements throughout it. What can I do with puppets that I can't do with people? Just about anything. When I first did improv with my puppet Albert, I experienced something that I rarely do, in the sense that I made choices that I don't think I'd ever make as Joseph the performer. Albert pooped on the stage, and that's not something that I would ever do myself. But there is a level of separation that Albert introduced. When I do improv, I am representing myself, and I am representing my thoughts and the way I move, the way I act, the choices I make represent a part of me. And sometimes exploring further parts of myself can feel not restrictive, but I feel like I'm holding myself back in a way to where I have to make sure that I'm presenting myself in the best light possible. While often open jams allow me to explore other avenues in that way, but having a puppet completely separates me from the improv I'm doing and allows me to make choices that, like I said, I wouldn't make without that puppet. Because the puppet can really do anything and be perceived in ways that are not as aggressive, I guess, as if I was doing it myself. I think adults enjoy puppetry partially because of the nostalgia. We all grew up, most of us at least now have grown up with Sesame Street or the Muppets. The Muppets had their huge revival in 2011 with the Muppet movie that was really successful. And there's something fun about them. There's something that is freeing about enjoying the things that you enjoyed as a kid in a light that feels more mature, but just as grounded and silly as it did when you were a child. I think as a performer, as an artist, I'm always learning. And that's a big reason why I do open jams and why I like to perform with so many different people and help out on so many different shows. When I started working for Shay with Late Night with Shay Dominguez, I had never really explored the world of late night shows. I've watched a couple of them. I loved Conan. I like Steve Colbert and Jon Stewart. I'm a big fan of Comedy Bang Bang. Like there's a level of experience that I had watching these type of shows. But working with Shay, I saw how really she put them together and how she kind of built her show, how she focused on the elements she wanted in her show. And I learned so much. I'm still learning so much from her. And that's what I think the most important thing is. I will work with just about anyone that I feel like I can really learn from. And our community is full of people like that, where they have really specific talents or tricks that they do and they pull off to make their shows successful. And whether I employ that into my own shows or not is neither here or there, but I learned something, and I learned how to make my things better because of it. Comedy is freedom. It is a way to express yourself in the most silly, goofy, freeing way that I have ever experienced. There is nothing that has really affected my life more than comedy, than being part of comedy, being part of the scene here in Atlanta. Has really, like I said, changed me. And it changed how I approach difficult things in my life. It changed how I approach stressful environments or moments. And I'm sure we've all had the experience where something bad happens and you have to laugh it off. The most important thing about comedy is that balance of the unreal and the real, and how it kind of can ground you and really release you from certain pains and certain troubles. Up next is, I like to learn. I love to learn, and right now I'm learning coding. So the next thing I want to do is create a game that explores comedy in another sort of medium. I love trying different mediums in the same way that, like, I started with sketch comedy, moved into improv, moved into puppetry, and now I want to explore how can I put these improvising skills and comedy skills that I've developed over the last 6 years into a new medium. And that medium I really want to try is video games.